Welcome to the Misfit One Lifestyles with Elizabeth Colin. She will awaken and connect with your Misfit One. Are you tired of the ups and downs in your life? Are you ready to live a healthy lifestyle once and for all? We are talking about all aspects of your life. Being fit is not just physical, it's also your mind and soul. Learn how to take steps in your life to move towards your goals. Elizabeth's goal is for everyone listening to the sound of her voice to get fit. Let's get focused, let's get intentional, and let's transform. Now here's your host, Elizabeth Colin.
This week's guest is Luann Berry, and we're going to be talking about what, Miss Luann?
We're going to talk about loving yourself and loving your business.
Wow, you don't want to miss. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Misfit One Lifestyles with your girl, Elizabeth Colin, also known as Misfit One. Listen, you are in for a treat. Ladies, get your pen out because we're going to be spitting some information about your business that you cannot get anywhere else. Okay, maybe you can get it somewhere else, but you're getting it here today. Listen, we have the one and only Luann Berry in the house. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Listen, I am so excited to be speaking with you today. For those of you who do not know who she is, we are letting the news out today. She started a new position with the National Institute of Minority Economics Development as the Executive Director for the Women's Business Center of Greensboro. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey.
Wow. Can I tell you that I am so impressed by what you do. And I am honored that I have been able to work with you outside of this. So let the people know what you're doing, Miss Luann.
Well, I am, I guess we could say, a 21-year corporate veteran. And I am also, within those 21 years, for the last soon to be 11 years, I've been an entrepreneur. And so when you and I met, I was actually consulting with the Women's Business Center of Charlotte, teaching and consulting women-owned businesses, which has always been so close to my heart. It has always been a part of me. And through that experience, when the opportunity came or was presented to me to be the executive director, to not only to open, but to lead the charge and develop the vision for this new business center, it was one of those things that you just could not turn down. Not only is it true to who I am personally and professionally, but we made history. We are making history because it is the first business center on an all-women's campus nationally. And it also happens to be an HBCU. So being at Bennett College.
This is
Can you not?
This is like, wow. Because listen, we as Black women have been underrated, least respected.
The ultimate underdog.
The ultimate underdog. And to have this facility on a HBCU, all women, is just like woman power to the 100.
It is. And, it's just because we are the Women's Business Center does not take away from the fact that we also support minority-owned businesses. So, it is historical because it is an all-women's campus. It's historical because it's on an HBCU, but that does not mean that we can't service anyone and everyone. Everyone is welcome, right? Resource is a resource. And that's the thing that I tell people. I recently, my kids were, going to school and they were talking about the Cub Scouts. And I had completely forgotten the Cub Scouts had changed and now accept girls. And my daughter was just like, Mom, can I do? And I was like, no, Cub Scout is for boys. You got to do the Girl Scout. She was like, no, look, it says girls. And immediately it made me think of the Women's Business Center, that just because it's the name does not mean that we do not support men, does not mean that we do not support all demographics, because we do. But we do have to relish and celebrate the historical factors that are in play with it. This is definitely a reason that we have to celebrate and acknowledge what this means nationally.
Yeah, and not only that, let's talk about the resources, like you said. What can we expect when we go there?
You know, I think the beauty of any business center is about connecting small businesses to resources, either through skill set, through knowledge, making connections that can help a business to move in another direction or scale. But I think when it comes to Women's Business Center of Greensboro, you get the flavor of Luann. You get my entrepreneurial spirit because I am an entrepreneur. So I understand our demographic. I've been there. I've been, broke trying to figure out how do you start a business. I am the single mom with 2 young children working a regular job, but trying to figure out how do I maintain my own brand. I have been that person where I was fortunate to be 100% as an entrepreneur for some time. So I've been in every kind of category I think most entrepreneurs fall into through the rise and fall of what that journey brings, but that brings the relatability. And so one of the things with anybody I work with, anyone I talk to, you got to be willing to do the work. Yeah. That's it. This is not end all be all. You have to do the work. And sometimes doing the work means you've got to take a step back and analyze, what have you already done? Where were the missteps? Because where there's a misstep, that's an opportunity for something new. That's an opportunity for a new win.
I love that. I love it when you say you step back. I think of it sometimes like a rubber band. Somebody used that as an example. You have to pull back and then you get just sprouted. You just get shot for it, and that's how it is. And it's very difficult a lot of times to step back. And when we talk about stepping back, can we break that down a little bit for people? Because not everybody know what step back mean. You know what I mean, Luann?
Yes, I get what you're saying. So for me, I'm a strategist. Everything to me, personally and professionally, is like a puzzle. I'm always looking at what is the end, and now, okay, how do I have to work my way back? But stepping back, it's just taking a reflection. It does not mean you have to stop. It doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean any of those things. It simply means taking the time, the dedicated time. Sometimes it could just be a week. Sometimes it's months. Sometimes it's a year or more. But taking the dedicated time that you need in order to recalibrate what it is that you're doing, where your business was, where it is now, but ultimately to make sure it aligns with where you want to go. A big part of taking a step back is owning, what do you want? It's sometimes it is just as simple as that. You have to acknowledge, what do you want? I had to do that work internally. And looking back, hindsight, I realized, God blessed me with a chance where I was parting ways with an ex-employer that allowed me to be 100% as an entrepreneur for a year. And if I didn't have that experience, I honestly don't think it would have forced me to really look in the mirror and say, okay, Luann, what do you really want? What do you really need this next? That's what I always say, the next. What do you need your next to be? Right? What does it need to look like? What does it need to feel like? How do you want to feel? Where do you, we have to ask ourselves these honest questions. It may sound weird, but it's part of doing the work. Part of doing the work is not just about your business. It's also the personal work that you have to do. For me, I I can only speak for myself, but I love to use myself as the example because it's taken me 20 years to reach this point, honestly, of where I am now comfortable with myself, where I now feel more sure of where I'm going and confident in my skill set, right?
Right. I love that, Luann, because here's what it is. This whole platform is all about living fit. And when I say fit, I mean focus, intentional, and transforming. And that's exactly what you do. That's exactly how you said it took you 20 years, but you have to step back, focus on what you really want. Your next.
Your next.
I love that next. You move with intentions and watch how things transform. And you said it best. You're a single mom, 2 kids. You did the entrepreneur stuff. You did the corporation things. You have done all of it, and you put the flavor of Lynn into where you are now, which is outstanding because I'm going to speak from my experience when I went to the Women's Business Center in Charlotte a long time ago. When I first moved here, it was not a good experience. Okay, I'm going to break it down. So hear me out, people. Hear me out. When I went, it was a woman that could not relate to me, and I could not relate to her. So it was as though I was speaking a foreign language. And just to clarify, she was an older white woman, sweet as can be, but we just couldn't connect. She couldn't see my vision, and I couldn't understand what she was saying, right? And it should be cut and dry, right? You have to have a business plan. You have to do this. You have that is the fundamentals of starting a business. And it should be accepted from anyone. But if you can't connect,
you have to connect.
It has to connect. If it don't have the flavor, you just stop eating it. And I stopped eating it. And I didn't go back to the Women's Business Center until recently. And I'm glad I did. I am so glad I did, because it's a whole different vibe.
Yeah.
It's really different from, and I think that was like 2015.
Well, I mean, with any business, there's growth. And with any business, there's different iterations. But when you as a business owner, but as a business itself, are intentional on doing the work and striving to be better and to do better and listening to your clients, I think that's why it now resonates with you or with anybody else that, comes along these different type of journeys with anybody they work with. Not every coach is for everybody.
Correct.
And it really is important to be able to connect to the client. They need that human connection. It's just like a relationship. It's just like falling in love. It's just like being, that you meet that first person and you get all the butterflies and you feel like everything is full and everything is there. It is just that, and it has to be able to speak to who you are. And for me, as a consultant, that's always been very important. I want to know the person, because when I know the person, you tend to learn more than just what it is about the business. It's more than the business. You're the brand. You are the business. This is your vision. And I've always tell people that your vision has to be at the heart of everything, because when you fall out of alignment with your vision, nothing makes sense. But when you tap back into it, and tapping back into it is that aspect of doing the work, right? So for me, when I decided to do my own work and just really just slow down, because that's the other thing, we're always going, we're always thinking about the next move. We're all thinking about the next.
Yeah.
The next. Without taking appreciation and taking time to think about, well, is it going to be what I really want it to be? Or am I just doing it because everyone's telling me I need to do it? It just seems like that should be done. It has to make sense. Make it make sense. It has to make sense. And so for me personally, this was the time that I had to do my personal work. I had to face the things and admit the things that I really wanted. And one of those things is when you get so accustomed, as a woman, as a mom, you get so accustomed to doing everything for yourself that the small part of me that I was not to say ever afraid of. I'm very emotional. I cry. I love. But to outwardly say and admit to myself that I'm now ready to be in a relationship. I'm now ready for love. I'm now ready to date. You know, I date my business. I've dated my business. I fell in love with my business, but the personal fulfillment that I needed, I wasn't doing, and I was not being receptive to it. And so the minute, I promise you, the minute I changed my mindset, because that's a huge part with any business is mindset. The minute I changed my mindset and I said, okay, God, you know what? My next, what's important to me? Everything love. I want to love the people I surround myself with. I want to love my children more, even in the times when they drive me crazy. I want to love the work that I do. I want to love whoever my partner is going to be. I'm ready for that. I'm ready for love because that's what makes me happy. That's what keeps, I want to laugh. I want to laugh all the time.
Right. And that goes into it. It goes into your business. A lot of times, you know, we don't think of that. I am one of those women that was also that way. Like, listen, my business is what pays me my bills, keeps my kids fed, keeps, you know, a roof over their head. So that's what I stayed focused on. But we have to have a balance. And it's
the best way you can. I would say I don't believe that you could ever achieve balance, but we can try. We strive for balance.
Let me tell you how I think of balance, right? I think of balance as a harmony. You know, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. You go a little low, you come back a little flat, but that's a balance, right? I'm not talking about like a tightrope and you do this. No.
And don't you think everybody thinks that?
I think that's crazy, right? But I think it's more like a song and you harmonizing and it flows because that is how life go. We flow. And just like you said, it is very your business and your personal is merged regardless of what you think.
It is. There's a thin line between personal and business.
It's a thin line between personal and business. And I'm so glad that you said, you know, you are ready. I wish you could see the smile on her face, Hunte, because it is such an important role as Black women. We have been taught that we are strong. We don't need a man. We could conquer the world, which is true. We can. But that was because we had to.
Absolutely. We've always had to, and we always will.
Yes.
However, I think it's important. I know it, you know, might be a cliche word or cliche thing to say, but I think it's important to understand. I want to be able to tap into my feminine side. I would like it, whatever the situation, even if I'm in work mode, that when my partner shows up, when my love enters the space, anyone should automatically see that feminine energy change because of his presence, right? That fun, flirty. Ooh,
you just
don't get it twisted.
Your eyes.
Right. I'll switch it right back to business though. But
because she's still there.
That I am still here. And that is a huge part. I would honestly say for the past 10 years that I was operating without tapping into my feminine side. And so now for me, I'm like, but this has always been me. It's not to say that it's not. Anybody that meets me knows it. But again, I think I had to let the universe know. I had to let God know, you know what? I'm ready now. I'm ready to receive it and not put up the walls and not put up the barriers. And I have to say, one of the things that's actually helped me is working out.
Come through, Luann.
It has really been, it is the one thing I don't like. I don't like exercising. I don't like working out. But I made a decision that I needed to start working out. There was a photo shoot I did back in the end of 2021. And when I saw the pictures, I was so devastated. I couldn't look at them. I didn't like how I looked. I didn't like what I saw back at me. And all I could think of when I saw the pictures, I said, if people only knew how broken she felt, how unworthy I felt, how lonely I was. I just was questioning so much. I didn't feel attractive. I just, it was just very negative.
Right.
And I've never used those pictures. I've never used those pictures because I just felt I had to make a change. And at the top of 2022, I decided to make a change. I did something I never did before. I fasted, the first time ever. And it was the best decision I ever made because spiritually, I think every being just changed. My body's never recovered the same. Like, it's funny when you eliminate certain foods and all these foods. And then as I started to eat regular, it just has not been the same. And so it's forced me to realize, well, I got to love my body too. And I have to be comfortable. And I'm not trying to be a size 0. No shade to anybody that is. I just want to be.
I'm a size 0 and I'm not taking no shade. But what you want to be is what? What you want to be was what? Healthy?
I wanted to be healthy. I wanted to feel healthy spiritually, mentally, physically. I wanted to be that when love and all the things love that I mentioned, when all those things love, that I wanted to attract that, but I needed to feel loved. And
you
I
have
had
to love yourself. Myself. That's right. That's why I call it loving yourself to help. Because here's the thing, when you looked at that picture, same as me and so many others, you guys can testify to this, that once we saw ourselves in that picture, because a picture do not lie.
Does not lie.
It does not lie. So when you see yourself in that picture and you realize, wow, this is really what I am putting out in the world. And what others see of me, it shows, it showed me that I wasn't loving me. So how can I expect someone to love me more than I love myself, right?
Indeed.
And I love how you said you made the change.
I had to make the change. Yeah. I had to make the change because I was miserable.
Yeah.
Inwardly, I was miserable. Outwardly, nobody would have ever known.
Nobody would ever
known.
No.
And it's only something I've recently started to talk about because I said, if I can share it, if I felt that way, I know others don't, but I've just never spoken about it.
Right. It's an unknown thing, just like our femininity. We have to be tough. We have to be this. You have to also learn to be feminine, which is sad to say, right? As a woman, a female, it's hard for us to be vulnerable and learn those things, but it's a practice that we have to do, just like working out. And I love to say this, then when you look at yourself and you see yourself, it's like an iceberg, right? That is the very tip of the iceberg, is that point where you can physically see, like, yo, I need to make a change. This is where we go. And that second layer that's still poking out for the world to see is that, oh, wait, I have to change my lifestyle, right? So those are the 2 levels that we usually see and understand. But under the sea, under the cover, in that deep soul of yours, there's different levels, and those different levels are the levels that you have to get to in order to make the change for a lifetime, not just for what's seen in the mirror or on the picture, but to go deep in that is where you see the changes and change your mindset, change your lifestyle. And that's exactly what I do, right? When creating healthy habits, that's exactly what we do. And I love how you said that, Luann, because you just hit the iceberg, girlfriend, and now you're going deeper and deeper. And listen, I know that before I wrap this up, I cannot let you leave without talking to me about your self-care. When you're talking about your working out, what else is it that your self-care consists of?
I have to admit, self-care for me is new. Because I always put the kids first. I've always, for me, was a second thought. But my self-care began with understanding I had to change how I spoke to myself, because it's easy for me to speak confidence and to speak love and to speak positivity into others. But there was a part of me that was waiting for someone else to pour back into me, versus I had to do a little pouring of myself. Take one cup and pour it back, or save some for myself instead of giving it all to others. So my self-care started with a mental change, really. Some things I've started to do, it's funny, I never really had like a routine for my face in the morning and in the evening. I started implementing certain things like that and trying out different, it's so simple, but it made such difference in my life. One of the other things that for self-care is one of the things I always used to do and I haven't done is travel. And so in traveling, a lot of it has been around business, but I've been able to really tap back into a quick weekend getaway, or if I'm out, for business and I take an extra day or two before I come back home. And I think the blessing with that and the cherry on top of that is most of these little weekend getaways is with somebody that, I care for. And so it makes it that much better, that in the sense of I'm getting to date again, but also tap into something that's always me, that's the travel aspect.
Wait, let me tell you this though. You should see how you turned all flirty and so it also gets to tap into your female energy and that loving and laughing. And I love that. Okay, keep going. I just had to say that.
Well, because it's not a matter of saying it's permanent, right? Because it's dating. It's not to say it's permanent, but it just brings out a side of you that you realize, for me, that I have not felt in a long time. And so that makes me happy and that keeps me hopeful. One of my other favorite things is taking bubble baths. Really just soaking in some Epsom salt and mixing up the different scents that I like. And when the kids go to bed, just taking a soak, because that's really the only time that I can just have a little me time and just really think and reflect.
I've said that so many times. That was my favorite. I still do it today with no money. I didn't care if we was broke. My kids used to be in the room and I try to put them out and I would take a bubble bath. They would come in, some of them playing with the toys, they feed in the water. And my husband at the time would come home and say, "Hey guys, what are y'all doing? Mama taking a bath. She wants to escape." So it was my escape, girl. I love that. And bubble baths, it takes you to a different place where you can relax and rejuvenate, right?
Yes. And funny enough, my children love taking baths too. They put on their bathing suits and then they sit in the tub together.
Yeah. That's so, because it's so fun. I mean, water in itself is calming.
So soothing, yes.
So soothing. Yeah. Now, how can we stay connected with you, Miss Luann?
The easiest way is to follow me on Instagram at Spice Lab, SPICELAB. That is always the easiest way to connect and to just to know what I'm going through, what I'm doing, because, through doing all these changes and being intentional in what I do, I think it's really important that you show people sometimes the transition. And
Yeah.
so I'm actually just working on what is that going to look like? What am I showing to everybody? Maybe everybody will actually get to see a little bit more of my personal side and not just the business side.
Right.
Because I think it's important. We've got to show both because that's what life is. That's what entrepreneurship is.
Right. And you know what's really good about this is that, you know how you said you have to hold a little bit for you, you know, your
Yeah.
cup, right? And I truly believe that if your cup is not full, ooh, you cannot give to others. You think you are,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you truly are not. And I love it, you know, because everything in my cup is for me. The overflowing stuff is for you,
Mm.
right? So you know that cup floweth over. It is what it is. It tells you that when you go on an airplane, put the mask on yourself first
Yes.
before you can help others. You know, it's crazy that we don't even think of that. We are constantly thinking of others, and it's not selfish to take time for yourself.
Agreed. 100%.
Not. Now, is it, you know, anything else you want to tell the people before we wrap it up?
You know, I think what I love about this platform is that one, the acronym of FIT, it's so relevant, right? But to also not to forget the importance of when we think about sustainability for our businesses, we have to think about how are we sustaining ourselves. And that's why I always say there is a thin line between the personal and the business. They work hand in hand. So as much as you want to love your business and as much as you strive for the success of your business is as much as we have to love ourselves and strive for our own personal successes, even if it's just us cheerleading ourselves. And I think that's just really important to keep on the forefront as we move on in this crazy world.
Wow, that's a drop mic moment right there. That is so true. That is so true. And I thank you so much for coming on. You are just such a shining light for us
Thank you.
all. And we appreciate all that you do for us, and keep making history, girlfriend.
Hey, I'll try my best.
Awesome, awesome. All right, you guys, till next week, stay fit. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Misfit One Lifestyles. Listen, when you are fed up and sick and tired of living this stifled, overwhelmed, and overstressed life, and you're ready to live the fullest, richest, and healthiest life by gaining more confidence, more energy, and more clarity, living in your best self, you know what to do, right? Go ahead, go to my website, misfit1.com. Sign up for our online courses, Creating Healthy Habit, so that you too can live fit, focus, move with intention, and transform your life.